Yeah, I'm here at Marion Square, and you can see we still have basically this standoff between some protesters and then this large group of police officers who are waiting here. Now, I did want to confirm to you that they were firing tear gas. We definitely know that law enforcement did fire some tear gas because they actually announced that ahead of time. And it seems like we have another motorcycle that may be riding up here. It looks like they decided to turn around. But there's a number of people all throughout here. Everywhere you look in every direction, all the way around, there are some people out here, different protesters. Not everyone's saying much, but they're all out here as part of this scene here. You can see King Street, of course, like I said, blocked off here at Calhoun by these members of law enforcement in riot gear. And they have been firing some smoke bombs and some tear gas. And also, like I said, they even announced the tear gas ahead of time, saying they're getting ready to fire tear gas. And then I think 2 or 3 tear gas canisters were fired over into the street here. And those things work immediately. I mean, your eyes, your nose, you can definitely tell you cannot stay right where you're at when that tear gas does start to come out of the canister. So we see now a number of police cars are riding up Calhoun Street again. Like I said earlier, they actually we didn't have quite so many police officers. That they were leaving this area, the actual cars, but it looks like they are now back here. Hold on a second, I'm hearing something. Oh, it looks like they were announcing to everyone to get back, that they're getting ready to fire, and they just fired. It looks like you can see down here, that's by the Hotel Bennett, where that the smoke is. I don't know if, I'm assuming that may be a smoke canister or it could be tear gas. I don't know for sure, but definitely a lot of smoke coming out of whatever was fired here. And like I said, that came from here, from where the law enforcement officers were kind of headed that direction. But they did get on the intercom and tell people to back up some. I didn't really see anybody moving, though. It's pretty much kind of staying. People are sort of staying where they're at. There's a number of people here in Marion Square over by the Hotel Bennett. Also, even, small groups of people on either side of Calhoun from where I'm at right this minute. Just a lot of chaos here. I've seen a couple of individuals getting into arguments amongst each other, discussing political issues and discussing, the problem, obviously, the concerns about violence. But that's basically what's going on out here right now, Taylor. I mean, it's just a very, very tense scene.
Before we let you go, I would love to know, do you feel that people are starting to move away from this area? I know police have made multiple attempts to clear the area this evening, and we're quickly approaching the 11 o'clock Charleston County curfew.
I don't feel, I feel like there's still a lot of people here. It's hard to tell exactly how many because there's people also in Marion Square. There's still a number of people down the street here, but I also see, if you look down King Street past Hotel Bennett, you can see law enforcement down there as well. I did not earlier see police cars over in that area, so they may be preparing for that 11 o'clock curfew and kind of stationing themselves to start to kind of seal off everything around 11 o'clock. I don't know how doable that even is with the number of people here and the number of law enforcement here and just the seriousness of which we've been watching all of this happen for the last few hours right here in downtown Charleston. So I don't know if people are moving from this area. It certainly seems like there's a lot of people still out here at this time.
And Raymond, is there still traffic moving through the area of possible maybe civilians moving through the area? I know a lot of people were dining in restaurants at on King Street, excuse me, when a lot of this broke out.
Well, you can't go down King Street. I can't even go down King Street right now. That's pretty much blocked off, at least here at Marion Square. Now, you might be able to come back from the other direction on King Street. I do know you just see some vehicles driving through here. Here's a truck right here, another vehicle driving through. There have been a few vehicles coming through here sporadically, not a whole lot. But I guess it's just if someone wants to drive down there, I guess they can find a way into King Street. I would definitely not advise that, though, at this time.
Thank you, Raymond. And of course, what you just saw was our reporters and our crew that are in downtown Charleston right now monitoring conditions of a demonstration and a protest that started earlier today, but then kind of took a more chaotic turn. Of course, what we showed you live was multiple businesses, including the Hotel Bennett, the Ordinary, the Apple Store on King Street, all had their windows smashed as police try and regain control of this area through the use of tear gas, asking people to move out of the area. Of course, they've been asking people to relocate and go home for a while now, and we're quickly approaching the 11 o'clock Charleston County curfew. So we're continuing to monitor conditions. I believe News 2's Riley Benson is standing by. Riley, can you hear me?
Yeah, Taylor, I can hear you. And again, we're here on King Street, just outside the Apple Store where we were when we joined you last time. I just spoke with an individual who was here when this actually occurred. He told me it was just after 9 o'clock, so about an hour and a half ago. He told me a group of people obviously broke down the door, went inside. They did get some stuff, some items out. Don't know what, obviously, but he told me he could see some people taking some items out of this store. Again, I did try to speak with authorities, police here on the scene. They weren't able to share any information with me as far as what happened and what the latest is. But again, I did speak with an individual who was here when this did occur. He was here, and again, we'll let you see so you can see it clearly. When these doors, the windows were broken into, when a group of people went inside this building, and he was able to tell us that some things were taken out of the store. Again, I don't know anything else other than that. And like I said, police are still here on the scene. The crime scene unit gentleman is pulling away right now. So obviously, probably an active scene still, and we're going to continue to monitor things here on King Street. Again, King Street, this is the Apple Store, and that individual who I spoke to just before we came on camera told me that this store was broken into right around 9 o'clock, kind of when things started to pick up intensity around this area on King Street, and then obviously the police moved that group back down King Street towards the Hotel Bennett. So again, we're going to bring you live updates throughout the night on King Street in downtown Charleston. Okay.
Riley, before we let you go, if you can still hear me, I think a lot of people want to know what the other stores look like on King Street right now. Are you seeing broken windows in other businesses as well?
Well, Taylor, and kind of like Raymond has been talking about, this section of King Street where we're at, this has been the only store that we've seen with a window broken in that we've seen since we left the Marion Square area. Obviously, that line of law enforcement police are set up right there by Moe's, if you're familiar with the area. And on this side of King Street, it's really clear. Again, the cop cars, different things, police cars, excuse me, are kind of clearing this area. A lot of the streets, the stores, the windows are not really broken here, Taylor. But on the other side, when we joined you by Hotel Bennett, things were really starting to pick up in intensity. A lot of windows were starting to be smashed, including the Hotel Bennett, which we showed you.
Riley, thank you. We have an update right now. I'm actually just got it into our newsroom, so I'm going to read from this paper. But Charleston City Council had an emergency meeting that was just held. The mayor did make some statements I want to read to you. The mayor, John Tecklenburg, stated that today was the scariest day for Charleston. This was a quote. He said, "It was estimated that a couple of thousands of people gathered in protest and solidarity, of course, with what happened in Minneapolis on Monday. However, as night arrived, a group of 500 to 100 continued to march in the streets of downtown Charleston." Now, what the City of Charleston Police Chief Luther Reynolds is saying is right now they suspect that the group of about 50 to 100 that are currently wreaking havoc in downtown Charleston, they believe these individuals to not even be from the Low Country. That's what their early assumptions are about this. They're working to learn where they are from. One thing that was said at this emergency meeting that was just held in the City of Charleston is that they believe the remaining protesters of about 50 to 100 people are unorganized and using the dark web to hide and plan their next attack. So that is what we are learning right now. At this time, law enforcement, multiple agencies are monitoring downtown Charleston and working to disperse these crowds. And we've been going back and forth to our reporters who are just showing some pretty scary conditions of some pretty angry protesters. So right now it is 10:30. We are approaching the 11 o'clock countywide curfew that was approved for all of Charleston County. Right now, I'm told that council is inquiring about calling in the National Guard and other law enforcement officials. That right now, that's just something they're inquiring about. That decision has not yet been made at this point. They do say that the law enforcement officers monitoring downtown right now are working 12-hour shifts trying to get this under control. The police chief making a statement saying that council is asking anyone who is interested in helping with the cleanup tomorrow morning in Marion Square to please come out at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. They're asking citizens to help in this cleanup. As you can see, lots of businesses, innocent businesses, had their windows vandalized and glass broken in their windows. So it's definitely a chaotic scene. Of course, the curfew will last until 7 a.m. It will start in about 30 minutes here at 11 p.m. It will last until 7 a.m. But Charleston County Council, along with the police chief, are inviting citizens to help clean on Marion Square at 8 a.m. So that's just some updated information I have right now. Just to reiterate for those of you tuning in, the police chief, Luther Reynolds from City of Charleston, is making an early assumption saying that he believes these 50 to 100 protesters that are still in Marion Square right now are from possibly out of town, and he believes they're using the dark web to facilitate this vandalism. So we're going to go right to News 2, and we're going to go right to News 2's Raymond Owens, who is in Marion Square right now. Raymond, I've just been told that Berkeley County law enforcement officers have come in to assist the city of Charleston right now.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was going to mention that the Berkeley County Sheriff's deputy did just drive down King Street and turn left here on Calhoun just a minute ago, so that is accurate. We just had something else fired from law enforcement toward the protesters, and in the last 30 seconds or so, it has gotten a little more agitated right here where I'm at. As you can see, these people are kind of not coming over to the law enforcement line, but definitely getting a little closer than they were. A lot of yelling, a lot of expressing their displeasure, if you will, toward law enforcement. And it's definitely does not look like this is wrapping up anytime in the near future. From what I can see, it looks like we've got another smoke bomb right here. And that was just pushed right over here. Look at, okay, we've got some more things being fired right down King Street. And you can see right here next to us, this is a smoke bomb right here on the ground, right in front of where we're at. This gentleman just kind of kicked it off away from the edge of the road here. There it is. I see something back here. Down King Street, there's something that looks like it must be being fired as well. Here we go. We've got a lot more firing coming from law enforcement toward the protesters. They're trying to kick these containers back to our area. Again, I'm here at Marion Square, and we're here at the corner of King, and it has dramatically increased the intensity of what's going on here in the last minute, really, as we've been live here on the air. We're right here in front of the Francis Marion Hotel. So if you're familiar with the downtown, and it looks like law enforcement is starting to walk down. We're actually, law enforcement is starting to walk down King Street, and we're gonna just kind of follow along with them. So let's right now I'm trying to walk through all of. Law enforcement is approaching the protesters. And David, let's go over here on this side. Come on over here. Approaching the protest. They're spreading out across the entire street. And let's see here. We're walking down King Street. This is the Francis Marion Hotel to our left. We're looking at protesters. The protesters are slowly backing up. Law enforcement is basically kind of pushing the protesters back at this point. It looks like they have decided to enforce, basically clearing this area of the protesters. There's definitely some tear gas in this area. I can feel it in my eyes, my nose. And it's hard to see anything because there's so much tear gas right where we're at. There's a lot going on right here. They're kind of... We're kind of stopping right here where we're at in front of the Marion Square. But it's hard to concentrate, isn't it, David? David, let's come back over here.
Raymond, if you can hear me, are the protesters
We do not
that's
have
now
tear
turned
gas
into rioting, are they apparently
masks
listening
on or
to
anything,
police
so
at
it's
this
hard.
time? Are they moving back? I don't know if Raymond...
I don't think so. Right now, we can't even hardly see or think right now, Taylor.
Okay.
Hold on just a second. We're coming over here. We had to get away from the tear gas. There was just too much of it, Taylor. So anyhow.
Hey Raymond, this is Brendan Clark here in the studio.
Okay, we're backing off. We're backing off. But anyhow.
We definitely want you to stay
tear gas
safe,
is
Raymond.
strong.
We definitely want you to be safe and you to stay safe. I know you're having a hard time hearing us.
Let's
see
right here. We've got the police is basically pulling into King Street here as well. So yeah, definitely this is I think we got a little too much tear gas on us here. So, but I think we're back where it's not burning so much right this second. But you can see law enforcement is behind. Right. We're law enforcement is now behind this line of officers that are walking down the street. They're making their way that way. As you can see, that gentleman is firing off the tear gas and the smoke canisters, and I mean it's what tear gas really does a number on you. And we're over here now where it's not quite as strong where we are at right this second, but basically police are making their way down King Street and kind of enforcing this area and getting the trying to get the protesters to kind of move back, and they do seem to be clearing this section of King Street here. You can see here, David, they do seem to be clearing. There's not really anybody on either side of the street here at this point, so they are slowly kind of clearing King Street with that line of officers that has basically been standing there at the corner of King and Calhoun for much of the evening. And you can see there's a number of people here around us right now, but for the most part, the group of protesters that were throwing things and that kind of thing appear to be down King Street from where I'm standing. We're going to continue to follow everything going on here, and we will bring you more information as it becomes available to us. Live in downtown Charleston, I'm Raymond Owens.
Thank you very much. News 2's Brendan Clark right here joining Taylor. Thank you, Taylor, for having me in here right now as we continue to cover what's been going on in downtown Charleston and in the area. Some people have been called domestic terrorists and what's going on down there. I know I'm coming in late right now, but I am here right now, and I've seen some sad things happening in downtown Charleston for sure.
Absolutely, Brendan. And what started off as a peaceful protest earlier around 2 o'clock has really turned into a riot scene right now in downtown Charleston as police try and regain control of Marion Square. So we're going to go to News 2's Hannah Powers right now on the phone. Hannah, let us know if you got us. Hannah shared a story. She was dining in a restaurant earlier when a brick was thrown into the restaurant. That restaurant was the Ordinary on King Street. Hannah?
Hi, Taylor. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you.
Okay, so this is going to be a quick update because actually myself, my mother, and father are the last ones here at the restaurant. They're about to usher us through the side alley to get out. They've actually barricaded the door. So they start off by locking the door and closing the blinds. Now they have barricaded the door with all of the tables and the bottom floor of the restaurant to try and keep us safe. I will say King Street appears to be closed now to all vehicle traffic. Lots of fire trucks, law enforcement vehicles of all types being used. And hold on, the waiter's talking to us right now. Yes, so the cops are on their way right now. So, yes, things, again, escalating very quickly. We are actually about to be ushered out into an alley outside of the restaurant so we don't have to exit onto King Street. So I'm going to have to leave you guys soon because we are, again, situation is still very dangerous, and again, just trying to get my parents and myself to safety. So we will have to, I'll have to leave you guys here. But again, restaurant has been barricaded from the outside in. We're going to leave through a side alley. It is dangerous. Please don't come down here if you don't have to. And Taylor, that's I'll text you some updates as they come.
Okay, Hannah, we appreciate that. We will be following you on social media. Hannah, do you have a second to talk about the scene down there? We know the police officers are moving, and there is a curfew at 11 o'clock. Do you think, do you see any indication that the people down there will actually adhere to that 11 o'clock curfew?
Brendan, I can't be sure. There's a lot of anger and frustration. Again, the whole situation popping off here at the restaurant I'm at, the Ordinary, when those bricks were thrown through the window, actually injuring a woman sitting at the bar. And since then, we've seen the profanity being painted on the sides of buildings. The restaurant here has tried to lock everything down, barricade, all of those things, because there are still very much people outside that are angry and frustrated and doing some violent things that are injuring people and making people feel uncomfortable and scared and screaming and all those things. Again, waiters in tears. So we are going to have to get out of here and try to get to safety. Again, my parents were staying at a hotel on King Street, which is not the place to be right now. So we will be finding a place outside of here to get to safely.
Absolutely, Hannah. I'm sure it's a very scary scene you experienced there tonight. About how many people were in the restaurant? What was a little bit of their reaction, if you can describe that for us?
Right, Taylor. Well, I will tell you they were definitely following all the social distancing and the tables spread out. So not full capacity, but definitely at that half capacity that's allowed right now in the city of Charleston. At this point, it is now just my mother, my father. They're standing right beside me, myself, and some of the wonderful wait staff here who I will say, has been excellent, just making sure everybody stays safe, because very high tension, definitely danger, and all of those things, and they're doing everything they can to make people feel safe. They are about to escort myself and mother and father out into, again, a side alley, so we don't have to go out onto King Street, because things are still active out there, and not a place I would feel comfortable with myself and parents right now. And the tensions were very high in here, people crying and screaming and upset, because very scary, for sure.
All right, News 2's Hannah Powers is downtown in the thick of things down there with their parents. Thank you very much, Hannah. We do want you to get to safety as quick as possible. Safety of our employees is priority number one, and we certainly hope they stay safe down there. We have Raymond Owens, Riley Benson, Hannah Powers down there. Of course, it's a very scary situation for a lot of people down there, as we know that curfew is coming up in just 13 minutes.
Okay, Brendan. Yeah, right now, Riley Benson is actually standing by. He was able to get to a safe point in downtown Charleston. He's been monitoring Marion Square. We're going to go right now live to News 2's Riley Benson. Riley?
Well, Taylor, right now we're on the corner of King and Calhoun Street, just outside the Francis Marion Hotel. It's off to my right here. The police force, again, as Raymond was kind of telling you, has started to move down King Street. They're closer towards Bennett, Hotel Bennett right now. There is a significant presence of people, and things are getting quite tense right now where we're at. There is some stuff being exchanged between bystanders and the police that are here on the street on King Street. Again, we're across the street from Marion Square. People are just kind of hanging out, and things are kind of tense here. Now, if we can get a look over here, and I think Raymond might have showed you this, but a line of obviously police cars, law enforcement vehicles are lining Calhoun Street from CVS down towards Mint, down Calhoun Street. Just a line of law enforcement officers. We're kind of waiting to see what is going to happen. And again, you can see now that things are starting to pick up in intensity. Words are being exchanged between people. It's a very tense scene. This area had been cleared as law enforcement had worked down King Street. And now things are kind of stationary again as things are picking up in intensity. They're trying to clear the street. You can hear that. So tear gas or some sort of substance is being threatened. So things are certainly tense in this area. Taylor, we're going to send it back to you in the studio.
Okay, Riley, we are watching this video while you talk right now. This is definitely escalating a little bit, because I think that 11 o'clock curfew, they want to get these people off the streets. Have they given you that kind of indication?
Yeah, Brendan, if you can still hear me, I'll jump back on camera. Yeah, they are right now trying to disperse people. And again, if you could hear us, the threat was if you did not disperse, they were going to start spraying. They did spray people and back down Calhoun Street. So right here, we're underneath the Francis Marion. People start backing down Calhoun. So yes, they are trying to clear the streets, I think, as much as they can. They're threatening to spray if you do not disperse. And now that crowd is now out of our sight. Looks like they have marched down Calhoun. And again, law enforcement still a heavy presence here on the corner of Calhoun and King as they're trying to get things cleared up, Brendan.
Of course, Riley, and earlier you were at the Apple store on King Street where an apparent looting took place and broken windows.
We're going to get a look down.
Are you seeing more businesses with broken windows out there right now?
Taylor, right now, the last 5-10 minutes, we haven't seen any of that kind of activity on King Street. Again, Things are kind of moving up King Street away from us, but we did see a lot of windows broken in, and I'm going to down towards Hotel Bennett and beyond. We were hearing more windows being broken, a lot of like rocks. It almost looked like they grabbed them off the sidewalk and threw it towards windows. So yes, there certainly a lot of activity with windows being smashed down King Street. But again, where we were by the Apple Store really looked like it was the only one that had its windows broken into, Taylor.
All right, Riley, can you give us an idea, Riley? You are right there in the thick of it. What are those rioters, and I'm not going to call them protesters, I'm calling them rioters at this point because what they are doing to the Holy City. What have they said? What has been the interaction with them and law enforcement? What are they saying to them?
Brendan, frankly, it's not pleasant. A lot of profanity, cuss words are being exchanged. Nothing good is being said from towards the police. It's just a really upsetting scene, honestly, Brendan. That's really the best thing I can tell you.
All right, Riley Benson continues our coverage as we are in downtown Charleston, as we continue to see what's happening as a result of protests that began early this afternoon and has turned sideways, definitely gone in a bad direction as we now are seeing rioters down there doing heavy damage to local property, business owners, retailers down there. I have talked to several retailers who have businesses on King Street saying Absolutely. They are very upset. Some even told me they weren't even notified about what was happening today, and that's what upset them greatly, that they were open today, and said they didn't even know this was going to happen today, this protest, and they may have taken precautions had they known.
Absolutely. We're going to go right to Raymond Owens, who's live in downtown Charleston. Raymond, are you standing by?
We can walk. Yeah, I'm down here on King Street. I want to show you guys, this is where the police kind of pushed the protesters through here just a minute ago. And the cigar lounge right here, you can see someone has basically busted out the windows here at the cigar lounge on King Street. And protesters are now further down King Street here. We're just going to kind of walk down the street here and see what we can see as we walk down the road. There was too much tear gas for us to even go this far just a few minutes ago, just a couple of minutes ago. I can hear sounds like more shots being fired of some sort, probably tear gas being fired into the crowd. We also saw that there were officers walking down Calhoun Street away from Marion Square, and they had handheld tear gas and were firing tear gas at the people, getting them to disperse. We're now here at the Hotel Bennett, and this is kind of where it looks like law enforcement, their line is kind of right here at the Hotel Bennett right this minute. And they are kind of clearing, just slowly but surely clearing this area. And not only are they looking this direction, they're also, it looks like they have some officers kind of looking toward Marion Square as well. We're going to walk over here and see what else. I'm here right in front of St. Matthew's Lutheran Church. And you can see a very, very active scene here as law enforcement, it appears to me, is getting ready for that curfew that will be enforced at 11 o'clock. Or I don't even have a clock right now. Maybe it is 11 right this second. Time is flying. It's 10:54. We have about 6 minutes before that curfew. And David, let's take a look at what's going on over here. We've got some protesters just on the other side of these officers, kicking a canister of smoke back toward us. And we have. Okay, all right. Okay, I hear you. Okay, an officer's asking us to kind of back up a little bit. Let's come over here, David, just to give us some safety. Right, he said that they're firing at them and they don't want us to get hit. So I completely understand that and appreciate that. We don't want to get hit either. But so you've got, I can feel the tear gas again. That's a tear gas canister, I think, David. But that's what's going on here at King Street. They are trying to clear people. It is definitely tear gas. Let's back up a little bit more because the wind's blowing our direction. But we're going to get back so we're not, not getting hit with the tear gas quite so much. But as you can see, they're kind of making their way down King Street, and that's basically the scene here in downtown Charleston, right in front of the Hotel Bennett. We'll bring you more information as we get it, as we've been doing all night.
Raymond, before you go, we're seeing a lot of people in the street. Is that law enforcement? Is that protesters? What is that we're seeing there in the middle of the street?
Well, basically, there are still some people in the street, but it has definitely lightened up a good bit. We're going to go back because the tear.
Absolutely. So as Raymond. All right, so as Raymond gets to safety, we're now looking at our other reporter, Brendan, in another part of downtown Charleston, of course.
And you're seeing right there the police presence in downtown Charleston, the corner of King and Calhoun right there. Several stores already damaged. We know that. The curfew is in place from 11 o'clock tonight until 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we have 8 hours of curfew. And this is what the police are getting ready for right now. And since I've been sitting here the last 15 or 20 minutes or so, things have definitely quieted down, as you can see, in that area. I mean, obviously, these people who are rioting, who are breaking windows, who are damaging property in this great holy city of ours, they are being pushed up King Street. So we don't know what kind of damage is happening up there as they are moving up there. We saw them as they were moving past Hotel Bennett, taking bricks, throwing them through the windows and just moving up and causing damage as they moved up there. So I'm sure it's still going on, just not where we've seen in our camera.
And part of this chaos, Brendan, earlier when City of Charleston had a news conference, Police Chief Luther Reynolds said that he believes about 50 to 100 rioters are causing the chaos right now, and that they're using the dark web to coordinate where they're planning to attack and what they're planning to do. And so I think that's why there's been a lot of chaos about where they're gathering and where the next move is going to be.
Sure, and that's the scary thing right now, because things have definitely quieted down where we are seeing when it comes to rioters and the people who are doing this damage. The law enforcement is there in full force. As we know, other departments have come and helped out the city of Charleston, as we know, as well. And I'm talking about Berkeley County, places like that have come down to help their brother in blue, help protect the holy city right now from these rioters. As you said, social media can be such a dangerous thing because they can coordinate in different areas for sure. As we continue to look at this video in downtown Charleston, we know this all started mid-afternoon right now, a protest. Black Lives Matters. We're down at Marion Square with others. Peaceful at first, but as we know, in the last 8 hours or so, things have definitely took a turn for the worse as we continue to look at this video from downtown Charleston, Taylor.
And as you've seen in the video, Brendan, I mean, there have been multiple attempts by law enforcement to really push this crowd out of the area, but there are still protesters on scene.
Yeah, sure. Look at them right there, the mask right there. Not yelling as much, maybe not being exuberant as much, but boy, they are still out there right now. And you never know, just it takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch. One person doing something bad right there. This fellow right here, don't know what they're saying right now into the camera. Obviously, our reporters out there, we want them to be safe, and if they need to pull back, then they can do that. Raymond Owens, Riley Benson, Hannah Powers were out there with parents. I was talking with a friend of mine. They had a party scheduled for 9 o'clock at Hall's Chop House, which is right up the road, 2 blocks away from what that video we were just looking at. She got there at 9 o'clock. She said at 9:10 they evacuated Hall's. They told everyone they had to get out because things were so dangerous in that area.
And of course, Brenda, that's been taking place at many restaurants on King Street. Hannah Powers was at the Ordinary having dinner with her family, just having a normal dinner. Restaurants were booked because a lot of businesses on King Street, like you said, Brendan, had no idea this was going to happen tonight, of course. So she was dining with her family when a brick was thrown into the restaurant at Ordinary, and they had to shelter in place. So a lot of chaos erupting right now in our holy city.
Yeah, no need to tell you to stay away from downtown. Really, you have to, because we know there's a curfew that's been put into place. It starts in 40 seconds from now. What law enforcement will do to enforce that curfew is yet to be seen. I know in other cities, this is happening all across our country, as we know, in cities and towns across this country. Sometimes in Minneapolis, where this all started, it hasn't exactly been enforced, the curfew. They just couldn't. But it looks like they are definitely ready to act on this curfew that will start in just 15 seconds from now.
Absolutely. And Brendan, that curfew is county-wide, all of Charleston County, not just the holy city. So if you are a resident in Charleston County, that curfew that starts at 11 o'clock applies to you.